Right. Assalamualaikum and very good morning. My name is Shafiq. So thank you, Miza, for the introduction. And thank you everyone for joining the session today. So in today's topic, I'm going to cover on the smart supplier profile. So everything that, all the question that you have on smart profile, I'll try my best to answer it. And just to give some context on what is actually the first module is the supply profile module in Smart. So essentially in all any other systems, every time you want to log into system, you want to maintain your profile so that that will be your central point. So for example, in Smart, if let's say you want to respond to any RFX, you want to manage your POs or you want to um, view any of your contracts. So the important thing that you need to note is that you have maintained your profile the correct way, right? So your profile must be in the active status, in the approved status. You have all of your contacts created so that they can access Smart, so that they can access so that they can perform PO acknowledgement, they can submit an invoice, for example. So you have to make sure that your supply profile is activated, is approved at all times. All right. So let me go through the Q&A session, but before that, let me just share my screen. Okay. So before I go to the product demo, I'll just on the first part, I'll just cover all the common questions that we had received so far. And there's quite a few items that I want to highlight, I want to address in the today's session. So number one, can multiple person log in Smart using the same ID at the same time? All right. So technically it is possible, but we don't recommend you to do that because uh, in Smart, if let's say you have multiple person managing your company account, you have to create them as a separate user account, right? So one company in Smart. So maybe you are invited for any other fact. So that is your company. Let's say company ABC Sdn Bhd, and under company ABC Sdn Bhd, you can have multiple login ID. So this login ID should be tagged to each users, to each employees that you have in your company that you want them to have access in Smart for Petronas. Okay, so for question number one, you have to create a separate login ID for each users that you wanna have in Smart. Okay. So question number two, in SUS, so just to give some context, SUS is our previous system that we are in a way replacing it with Smart. So in SUS, there are multiple ID for each region. Is this the same with Smart? Do we need to create one ID per region or how? Okay, so if I want to compare between SUS and Smart, it's in terms of the user ID, it's a bit different because uh, in SUS, in SUS right now, if let's say you have multiple branches, multiple addresses for the same company, you will have one user ID each. Okay, you cannot create any more user ID based on that region. But in Smart, the user ID is created based on a person, based on the users that you have created. It don't really tie to any of your branches. So if let's say you have an HQ in Kuala Lumpur, but then you have two branches in Sabah and another one in Johor. Okay, but I'm sure you have a lot more employees that are going to your colleagues that are going to log in into Smart to perform their daily activities. So for that purpose, you will need to create each person with their own user ID. Okay, so it's kind of personalized. So every time, let's say they do any changes in Smart, let's say in RFX, we can actually track who actually made those changes. So the tracking is there, right? And you can also control in terms of the user access. Okay. So question number three, is it okay if the completeness of profile is not 100%? It is perfectly okay for your profile not to be in 100%, because for you to have 100%, you basically need to fill up all of the field that you see in the supplier profile. Okay, so the guideline is that you just need to monitor your status. So under basic details, there's a status column. So as long as your status is in approved, then you should be okay, right? Can two computers access P-Smart and respond to artifacts simultaneously? So this one, let me bring my pointer. So question number 4, this one in a way related to question number 1. If let's say you're using a different ID, then yes, you can respond to the artifacts simultaneously. Okay. Did not receive the activation link. All right. So the activation, because right now we have migrated all of our active suppliers. If let's say you are invited into this session, then by right you should already have, you should already receive your activation link. Okay. So there's one possibilities that you there's two possibilities that you might have not received the activation link. Number one is because your email ID is not the same, is not the email ID that you used in the previous use, right? So if let's say you use abc@gmail.com in the current SUS or ROS, then when we migrate your profile into Smart, we will also send the same invitation link to the same email. Okay, so possibility number 2, we have sent out those email, but those email may be inside your junk folder, right? So you may want to check those out. If let's say you have checked with your colleagues, none of them have received the Smart profile, then please send an email to our support team, supplier.servicedesk@petronas.com, and provide the company name, the RC number. So based on that, we can check which are the the registered email address that we have in the system. Okay, if it's invalid, then we can help to generate a new invitation link. Okay, so question number 6, does my account cover the usage for both Petronas and ExxonMobil? So Smart allows you to basically manage the same manage to use the same login for both Petronas and ExxonMobil. But in the first place, you'll need to make sure that you have been invited for Petronas and you have been invited for ExxonMobil using the same email address. Okay, so if let's say in Petronas you have abc@gmail.com and ExxonMobil you also use abc@gmail.com, then the moment you log in, you will be able to select which one that you want to go into, either Petronas or ExxonMobil. Okay. If let's say you're using a different email address, so Smart will not be able to identify that you are the same person. So for that reason, you will need to log in to use a separate login for Petronas and ExxonMobil. I'll show in the demo on how you can make sure that you're able to access both at the same time using the same email. Okay, question number 8, I can't log in into my account. So the question is quite basic. So if let's say you have created your account before, you have entered the username, you have entered password, you have successfully logged in before, and the second time you want to log in, you're unable to do so, right? So maybe you have lost your password. So if you lose your password, you can just reset the password. But if let's say you forgot your login ID, you can also do the same thing. There's a link provided that allows you to log in into your Smart account, right? The next question, company account is already in approved status, but we did not receive any artifacts on Smart. Is that okay? Right. So it is Okay, so like I mentioned before, you just need to make sure that your profile, your company account is already in approved status. I'll show you in the product demo where can you refer the status. So as long as your profile is in approved status, technically you're okay, right? But we did not receive any artifacts on Smart. Okay, because we still have a few more OPU to be onboarded in Smart. We are still using SUS. These are still a transition period. So not all of our tenders are using Smart right now. So maybe those tenders are not related to your offering. So that's why you are not being invited for the tender, right? But during this transition period, you have to monitor both of your account. You have to monitor your SUS account. You also have to monitor your Smart account because there is possibilities that you're going to receive RFX in your SUS account or you're going to receive RFX in your Smart account. That is possible. Okay. Why can I save and update the information? So the question is quite uh, because there's a lot of possibilities that why you can't save and update the information, but during the demo later, I'll try my best to explain all of the information that you need to have in the system so that you are able to save and update. All right. So if I understand this question correctly, maybe your profile is in the approved right now, but you want to make some changes, and I will also do a change request during the product demo. Okay. Are all applicable SUS portals for each region still in use when Smart is already implemented? We still receive a reminder to log in on each SUS per region. Okay, so like I explained in question number 9, the SUS portal is still valid. The Smart account is valid right now. So in this transition period during the implementation, you have to make sure that you actively log in using both accounts, your SUS portal as well as your Smart portal, right? Because some artifacts you might receive in SUS, some artifacts you might receive in Smart, some of the POs you might receive in SUS, you might receive in Smart, or maybe the invoice, some of it you have to submit through SUS, some of it you have to submit through Smart. Okay, so it really depends to which OPUs that we have rolled out. Okay, so and which OPU that we have not rolled out. So those OPU that have not rolled out, they are still actively using SUS. For those OPU yang already rolled out, that one will start using Smart. What the next question? What will be the best hardware requirement? So I would suggest for you to use Google Chrome. Okay. You shouldn't have any problem to use Google Chrome because even in Petronas, all of our buyers of our internal user, we are using Google Chrome to access Smart. How many number of user account per company can be created? So it is there's no maximum numbers of user account that you can create in Smart, but essentially you want to make sure that you only created a user account for those people that are relevant to manage all of the transaction with Petronas. Okay, so for example, you have your sales engineer, you have your sales advisor. They will be responsible to respond for any artifacts. Then yes, you can create the user account for them. And let's say you have your finance to issue out to create any invoice, then you can also create them a user account, right? So if let's say they are from HR, they are not related with transaction with Petronas, then maybe you don't have to create their user account in Smart. Reason being, once they have a Smart user account, they may be they may receive a wrong notification and that is not meant for them. So for example, in RFX, maybe our buyer selected their name as the focal person, and then they will receive the RFX. As the result, your sales advisor will not receive the RFX to be responded to. Okay, so there's no maximum numbers, but try to limit the user account to only relevant person, right? If an existing user left the company, can his or her account be transferred to another person, right? So like I mentioned before, each user account are tagged to a person, okay? So if let's say that person has left the company, so what you can do, you can just remove the user account, just click the button delete, and you can add a new user account for the new person that are replacing that person, okay? The last question is there a smart app available for mobile phone? There is no app available for smart as of now, but you can actually access smart through your mobile browser, right? So, but the screen will be quite small for you to see. Maybe once in a while you want to check if let's say you have any pending artifacts to be responded. You can just open your mobile browser use the same link, use same login, check your task. If it's there, then you can do all the submission through PC, a laptop. Okay. All right. So there are more question, around 20 plus question, but this one I'll I'll do a system demo on how to do this. So before I go to the system demo, maybe it's worth for me to just run through quickly the question. So some of the question are basically about the user ID, how to log in, how to create my supplier profile, how to respond to PRF. Maybe you have yet to do that, and some of it are related to the user's ID. So for example, can we register more than one name under legal advisor? So how do I add more user ID? Okay, and yeah, question related to bank accounts, how to change our primary bank accounts for payment purposes. And there's a lot more question on the completion of your supply profile itself. So you see the rate indication, you see the percentage of your profile is not 100%. Your profile status is not in approved status. Okay. Yep. So my profile says it's 50% complete. Can I create two different users on the same company, and how? So this one I'll also do a demo on this. Can you explain how to add additional accounts? So yeah, how to update company profile, how to change the username if if the person is no longer working in the company, how do I create user account and add new bank account? There's always pending tasks on company profile, right? So the next one, yep. So all these questions are in a way interrelated. So I'll do a step-by-step product demo. So by the end of the session, we should be able to answer all all of these questions. Okay. Okay. So as and when I do a system demo, I'll shift to the slide. All right. So before you go to the okay, so the first thing that you will receive is the primary registration form. So primary registration form is like an invitation, right? So invitation email from Petronas saying that you have been invited to create a user account with Petronas. Okay, so you will receive this kind of email, registration request from Petronas. We are glad to invite you, blah, blah, blah. You can read all of this information. And there's two links that we provided in the email. So number one, the instruction on how to proceed. So to proceed, you just click here to complete your registration. Right, so click here to complete your registration. So let me just close it. And the second link, you also receive the to learn more about Smart by GP. This where we publish all of our user guide. So it's worth for me to also highlight this because you will need this user guide throughout this week. So yeah, there's a supply profile, how to acknowledge a PO, how to submit invoice, how to respond to RFX, everything. We have covered it step by step, all the screenshot, all of your questionnaires, we have published it inside the user guide. So when you receive the PRF form, you will also receive a link to the user guide. So this is the Petronas, our procurement platform page. So inside here, there's two sections, Petronas License Management System. I'm not going to cover PLMS today because this is a system where you will conduct your licensing registration activity. So if you want to know more about that PLMS, you can refer to the user guide here. But for Smart, there's also a section down here, login to Smart by GP. So this is the login URL. If you have you want to refer to any FAQs, the user guide, the video walkthrough platform FAQs, user guide, everything is inside here, right? So the last two is for B2B marketplace. Okay, so for the user guide, you just simply click on this link. So these are 165 pages of a user guide. I'm sure most of your question that you have with Smart are being addressed inside here because we have published all of the information that you need to know, right? So from account activation, supply profile approval, artifact responses up until invoice management and payment. Okay, you can, maybe some of you are still not aware that we have this user guide. So here the user guide, you can even Google it right now. Go ahead, check out our procurement platform and check this user guide. Okay. All right. So going back to the PRF form on how to create your login credential. So please click here to complete your user registration. So you will see this page. Hi, Mohammed. You have been invited by Petronas to be a supplier and represent Supply Clinic 2020, right? So you have been invited by Petronas to represent a company. So in this case, I created one company called Supply Clinic 2020. Okay, so there's one question on how do I create smart account, or how do I link my, if let's say previously I have an Exxon account and right now I want to log into smart account. So there's two links here. If let's say you don't have any smart account before, you just click on register now, right? If let's say you have a smart account before, maybe with other companies or with other clients, you click on have a smart by GP account. So for the purpose of this demo, I already have a smart account. So I click on I have a smart by GP account. And the next page that you will see is the primary registration form. So primary registration form is just a one-pager form where you can fill up all of the basic essential information. Okay, so for example here you just enter your username and then your password. I think I forgot my password. Okay. Right, next you will see these addresses, so you can just enter. This is your HQ address. So I'm in Malaysia, my HQ address. Okay, so this is my HQ address. And business region is referring to which region that you can provide a business, right? So I'm only limited to Malaysia. So I'll just search on Malaysia, click on it, done. Okay. Company phone, you can enter the company phone, country fax if you have it. So I'm sure you have it, right? And then company identification, there's one mandatory, which is the first one, the ROCO. So this is should be your ROC number. Okay. All right. So in this page, if let's say you have because this is just one user ID, right? Just for you. So if let's say you have another colleagues that you wanna create their user account, you can also do that in this page. So it's under secondary contact information. Click on it and enter the first name, last name, company email, the contact rule. You can select this one, and then just submit, right? So they will receive the invitation to do the same thing. They will receive the same invitation like this, right? Like you received it previously. Okay. So for this one, I'm just going to proceed with this. Select a state. Kuala Lumpur. Give it a moment to create the user ID in the system, because after this you will receive another email for you to confirm your account, right? Okay, so thank you for your interest. Please check your inbox for an activation email. Okay, so you go to your email, so ignore my email. Yeah, action required, activate your GEP smart account. So let me just close this, click here. This is exactly the step by step that you will need to do in order for you to create your smart account, right? Okay, and then you simply log into the same okay. So once you log in, because previously, if let's say this is to answer one of the question on if let's say I have where is it? Yeah, usage for both Petronas and ExxonMobil. Okay, so uh, in the previous step, you select I have a smart by GP account. So that is the smart will basically identify that you are using the same ID, you are using the same ID and password to log in to your smart account. And for that, you will see this pop-up page where you can select which are the companies that you want to go into. So in this case, I just want to go into Supply Clinic, click on Submit. Okay. If let's say you only have one smart account for Petronas, then you will, once you log in, you will straight away go into the homepage of Smart. Okay, so this is the first time privacy notice. You just accept it. So here is the smart page. So maybe we go to the supplier profile. It's worth for me to quickly explain what are those things that you have. What are all the buttons that you see on the screen. So number one is task. So task is all your action pending, right? So if let's say you receive any PO, RFX, it will also appear under action pending. Okay, and then under manage, you are able to see all of the documents that you have in Smart from RFX PO, service confirmation, goods receipt, or even invoices, right? So you'll see it on the tab. But in this case, I don't have any documents, so that's why I don't get to see that option. And you're also able to create. So create if you want to submit any invoice, credit memo, service confirmation. But for this one, we will cover more in detail in session on Thursday on service confirmation. And then catalog. So for supplier profile, there's one additional button on the bottom right. So you just click on it. Yep, supplier profile. So this is where how you can maintain your supply profile, right? So if you see here, there's few section that you'll see on the screen, right? basic details, identification info, relationship information, location, blah blah blah, up until notes and attachment. So at this point, my profile is at 20% profile completeness. Okay, so that's question on percentage. My profile says it is 50% complete. I have submitted change request, but nothing happened. Right, so it is perfectly okay. Yeah, there's always pending tasks on company profile. The percentage of completeness is 50%, is 53%. So you can basically ignore the percentage that you see on the screen, right? So profile completeness just to indicate that you have filled up all of the fields that you have in your supplier profile. So for example, under business information, okay, so everything is not filled up. So if let's say I fill this up, the profile completeness will be maybe 22%, right? So essentially, if you want to have 100% profile completeness, you have to fill up all of the information that you see on the screen. Okay, but for Petronas, the important thing that you need to make sure is under basic details. Remember earlier I said about the status. So there's a status here. So at this moment, oops, at this moment my status is invited. Okay, so I have to make sure that my status is in approved status. So how do I get to approved status? You have to complete your profile with all of the information that we need and you submit. Okay, so let me quickly open up the user guide just to just maybe guide you on how to should get the point here. Okay, so under page 32, these are the mandatory requirements that you should have in the system that you should maintain before you submit for approval. Okay, so you have the basic details, legal name and region. So you see your profile, legal name is there, region is also there, right? So because this is mandatory field, right? So you don't have to do anything about it at this point. And then identification number. During the PRF creation, you have entered your RC number. So it is here. Okay, so you have complete number 2. And location information, headquarter and ordering location. So if you go to location information, it is still in the red mark here. And there's a message saying that at least one location of each type ordering location is required. So at this moment, you only have your headquarter, but you don't have any ordering location. So what is ordering location? Ordering location is an address where you want Petronas to issue a PO. Okay. It can be your HQ, it can be your any other branches or warehouses address. You can have it as an ordering location. So how to create a new ordering location? You have two options. Number one, if let's say it is the same as your headquarters, you don't have any other branches, there's a button copy as on the right here. So you can copy as, tick ordering location, click on that. Right, that's the only thing that you need to do. Right now you have one ordering location. And if let's say you have more warehouses, right? So you can also create add new location. It will bring you to this page where you can enter the addresses. Let me show you. Yeah, so location name. So location name is the any names that easily identifiable, right? So for example, this is my warehouse in Klang. Okay. So you enter the address line 1. Select your, and then the state. This one should be in Selangor. City will be Klang. seafood. Okay, and then you see down here, choose location type, select ordering location, right, and save and close. You just essentially creating a new address and save those address. Okay, right. So right now I have one headquarter, the first headquarter having the same address, and I also added one more ordering location. All right, one more address. So what will happen if, let's say, our users create a contract or create a PO? So that PO will be either sent out to Kuala Lumpur City Centre or your house in Klang. Okay, so it really depends to which ordering location that you maintain in the system. Next, under contact information, this is where, so at the moment I only have one user ID. So if, let's say, you want to add more user ID, you can also do that. Sure. Okay. And then the next one, certificates and supported currency. Okay. So if, let's say, you are our license supplier, right? So there's one section called Petronas license and registration information, right? So this is where you'll see your license status. So your license duration, the license certificate attachment, that will be populated here. And this is only applicable for our Petronas license registered companies. For those that are not our license registered companies, this information will be blank. Okay. And the next information that you need to fill up is under certificate. So you can refer to this user guide. So there's a section that we highlighted which are the information that you need to have. So under certificate, you can also add a new certificate if it's required. Hold on. Okay, so under certificate, let's say, okay, it's not here. So because I'm using UAT, but basically when you open certificate, you add new certificate, there's an option for you to attach your company registration certificate, or you want to attach your bank account statement, you can also attach it under certificate. So all the attachment that you want to submit, you submit it under certificate. Okay. And the last part is marketing information. Okay, so the only mandatory information that you need to fill up here is the currencies. So just click on R on it, and okay. Okay, let me go through the system demo. What else that I haven't covered? How to create and update supplier profile. So yep, I just did that. How to clear the red indication. So red indication on the left hand side here. So if you see earlier under marketing information, for example, you don't have the Malaysian, you didn't maintain the supported currencies. That's why it's still red. So you have to maintain those. We have one pending task for supply profile, but status is already approved. How do we check what details of the pending task and one is to be completed? So for this one, even in my profile right now, let's see, go back. I have one under pending task. Yep. and status is invited, so I have to make sure I've submitted my profile. So if yours is already in approved status, then you can technically ignore this action pending. There's nothing required, for you to do in the system lah, right? Can we add in name and email address for backup while being on leave, and how? Okay, so to add a new email ID, right? So you go to your Supplier profile under contact information. Contact information here. There's a plus button. Add new account. So add new contact. So you can just put the first name, last name, email address, all the mandatory information, and then you click on send invitation and save. That person will receive another invitation for Petronas to create their own user account. Okay. Can we register more than one name under legal advisor, as there are 7 mandatory approvals are required before we proceed with signing? Can we change the name from time to time, as there are different reviewers from our companies depending on the product or services? Okay. So what you'll need to do for these two questions, essentially you just need to add them as a contact in Smart, right? So you have 5 person, you add those 5 different contact person in Smart, and depending on the documents. So if let's say in the first RFX, it's only meant for chemical related products, and for chemical you have your own division in the companies. You have person A managing that, so that RFX you can change the team members to that person only. Okay, and for the second RFX, it is related for a different product altogether, right? Maybe logistics. So for that one, there's the person B that should be managing logistic, all the RFX related to logistic. Then in that RFX, you can change or update the contact person just for person B, right? So how to do this in the RFX? My colleagues will further explain this in tomorrow's session on the RFX. Okay. How to change our primary bank account details for payment purpose. All right. So I haven't covered on the payment details. But the question here is how to change our primary bank account. So in Smart, we cannot mark any bank account as a primary bank account, right? So if let's say, because the selection of bank account is based on you. You are the one that going to select the bank accounts that you're going to use. It all depends on the invoice submission. So when you submit your invoice, in the invoice itself, you have to mention the bank details on the footnote. And when you submit the invoice in the system, you also need to select the bank account, right? So if let's say for Petronas, you only have one bank account that you want Petronas to remit the payment, then you just maintain one bank account in the system lah. Okay, so how to add a bank account? It is still under location information. You click on the plus button. You can enter, maybe the location name is CIMB Bank, and you enter all of this info. Okay, hold on. Maybe it's easier if I just copy location. Okay, so just copy this as remit to location, click on done. And this remit to, I just edit this. So if you create any remit to location, you have one additional section called banking information, right? So you add your bank details inside here, select wire transfer, and you need to enter all of this information, right? So for more details on what information you need to fill up, we have actually highlighted it in the user guide as well. Yep, this part, page 46. So you need to enter your bank name, CIMB Bank Berhad, beneficiary name, bank branch, country account type, SWIFT code, bank key and IBAN. So if let's say you don't have any, you are not using any ABA routing number or even IBAN, then you can just put a 0 and then your bank account numbers. So that's exactly the same thing that you need to fill up here. Bank account, beneficiary name, bank branch, SWIFT code, bank account name, and verify the bank account name and click on done. Okay, and once you have it, you will see as one liner here. Yep, you will see something like this. Wire transfer CIMB Bank Berhad, and then you can proceed to save. Okay, but for this demo, I'm not going to add any bank account yet because bank account is not a mandatory field. Okay, bank account is only required if let's say you want to have in the future you want to submit any invoice, right? So for that purpose you need to have a bank account, but for you to have your account in approved status, you want to respond to any other facts, you don't have to maintain the remit to location of bank account yet. So once you fill up everything, you can just save and submit. Okay. My profile says it is 50% complete. I have submitted change request. Okay, after this I'll cover on change request. Can I create two different users on the same company? I have addressed this. Yes, you can. Do you need to fill up profile until 100% completeness? No, right? So as long as your profile is in approved status, it's fine. Can you explain how to add additional accounts and how to update addresses on file? I've done just that previously. It all under location information. You click on plus button, click on the plus button, select either remit to location or ordering location, and then you can submit. How to update company profile in Smart? So this one should be under change request. I'll cover change request after this. Please advise on how to change username if the person is no longer working in the company. So you cannot change the username because username is created when you create the account in the first place. So if let's say those person are no longer working in the companies, you can just simply delete the contacts and add a new contact as a replacement. Okay. How do I create user account and add new bank details? So I have demo that just now. There's always pending task on company profile. The percentage of completeness 50% with green mark at all filling field should we ignore? Do we need to complete the profile? So same thing. As long as your profile is in approved status, then you can ignore the task. Okay. Yep. Similar with question number 16. Okay. Once the profile account created and activated, how to extend the account profile for various users? So you just go to your profile, under contact information, click the plus button, add those contacts, send invitation. How to create smart account? I have demoed it in the first place, where you will receive an invitation from Petronas, and you just follow you click on the link provided and follow through all the process. Okay. Skip this. Understand all user access within the company will be assigned by primary contact. Is there a limit on supplier primary contact point? Only one per company, or it can be one from different department. Okay, so in your so go back to the demo before I answer that question. So once you save and submit, your profile you will see something like this. Supplier profile is successfully submitted. Please wait for our team to review and approve your profile. So it will take maybe 1 or 2 days for our team to review the profile, to review your submission and approve your profile. So meanwhile, if let's say you open your supply profile, right? Just have to be updated. Hold on, okay. Understand all user access within the company will be assigned by primary contact. Is there a limit on supply profile? Okay, so right now your profile is under approval. Okay, so let me quickly approve your profile. Okay, sorry. So question 20, understand all user access within company will be assigned by the primary contact. Is there a limit on supplier primary contact point? There's okay, so the primary contact can be only one person, right? So in your company can only be one person, but you can have more than you can have more than one users created lah. Okay, please assist us on how to complete the supply profile, right? So I just did that. So essentially you just need to make sure that all of the mandatory information that we need. So basic details, location information, you need to have one ordering location, and under identification information, you need to have the ROC. And for ROC number, if let's say you are Malaysian companies, then you have your ROC number. For international companies, you also need to maintain your company registration number, right? So based on your respective countries, you should have numbers that you receive when you registered your companies. Okay. Next is the marketing information, right? So under supported currencies, you just need to maintain the supported currencies in. Okay. Once you maintain all of that information, you submit. You will see the green message saying that your profile has been submitted, and that's basically the end. You just have to wait for the next email once our team approve your profile. Okay. On bank accounts, do I need to attach a supporting document since the bank accounts are already set up in the system? So if let's say uh, your bank account is already there, meaning to say we are migrating, we are bringing your previous bank accounts that you have in the previous SUS system into smart system, so you don't have to attach any supporting documents. But if you want to add more bank accounts, then you will need to add it as a new bank account and attach a supporting document. So essentially, every time you want to add a new bank accounts, you need to make sure that you attach a supporting document. That supporting document is your bank statement header, right? So in the bank statement header, we will need, why we request for bank statement header, because we want to validate that the bank account is belong to you, with the company name, with the bank account number clearly mentioned, and with the bank name. Okay. How to activate the account? Yes, so previously, once you receive the invitation, you just follow through the process, click on the link. Once you're able to log into Smart, then your account is activated. right? So how to get your supplier profile in approved status? You have to fill up your profile details, complete everything, and submit it, right? How to create a new password if wrong password? So on the login page itself, there's a link for you to reset your password. Okay. Okay. So all right. So I think I have answered all of the question that we have on this on Smart end-to-end process. So let me just go back to the screen. Where is it? Okay. So let's say your profile has been approved. Okay. So has been approved by our internal team. You click on your supplier profile and okay. So yep. So you open your supplier profile right now. Is it already in approved status? Then there's nothing for you to worry about. So even my profile here, I only have 22% profile completeness. As long as your profile is approved, then it should be fine, right? So if let's say uh, your profile status right now is in approved status and you want to make changes to your profile, you want to add a new bank details, or you want to invite a new user. So if you click on, let's say, contact information, you don't get that option. You don't have that plus button here, right? Because your profile is approved. But what you will need to do is you need to create a change request. So there's a button down here. Click on it, create a change request, and right now the form will be editable, right? So contact information. Maybe I want to add another contact. Uh, okay. So, see. Okay. Right. So I have added another contact and then submit. Once you submit your profile, the contact details will be notified and they will receive another invitation, right? So similar, if let's say you want to add a new, yep, you receive the information, the change request submitted, limited substitute available in the version history. So click close. Okay, go back to the page. So how to create and update my supply profile? So if let's say your profile is in approved status right now, you just need to create a change request. Okay, so like I showed just now, you click on the button, you do all the changes, and then you submit. So it's all the same. It is the same thing. Next question. What else do we have? Can we add in name? Yes, we can. I think I have covered all of the questions that we had received previously, and we still have around 20 minutes to go. So for this one, check the question that you have submitted today. Okay, so it's not visible, but let me just read the question. Is there a master user feature that is able to control other user ID, to delete ID, reset other ID password, or even view activity log? Okay, so in Smart, there is not really a master user lah, in a way, but we do have a primary contact. So for primary contact, they can create a change request, they can add any users, they can remove a users. But to reset a user password, that has to be done by the user themselves, right? By the user account themselves. Okay. How we want to know our profile has been activated? Is there any icon to show our profile already active? So it all depends on the status. So you go to basic details here and status approved, right? So let's say the um, this means that your profile is approved, your profile is good to go lah. But if you are referring to your user ID, whether it's already active or not, um, under each contact information you will see the last login. So if let's say there is a login done, then meaning to say the account for this person already activated, right? They have successfully logged into Smart before. Okay. Not clear on the explanation for question number 2. Are you saying that each region has to create new ID to log in Smart? Okay, let me explain this, right? So I believe you are referring to the common question. Question number 2, in since there are multiple ID for each region, is this the same with Smart? Do we need to create one ID per region or how? Okay, so in Smart, okay, let me just read the question again. Are you saying that each region has to create new ID to log in Smart? Not necessarily, right? Because the user ID in Smart is not based on a region. Okay, it's not based on your company location. Okay, user ID in Smart is based on each users, right? So for example, one user may be managing 3 different region, so you only need to create one user ID and you can manage all 3 region. Or in the second scenario, you have multiple person, so 2% in KL, 2% in Sabah. So you can create each of them their own user ID and they can manage their own region. All right. So in Smart, the user ID, the account, the login account is basically tagged to an individual. It is not tagged to a location. Okay. If 2 users are allowed, so next question, if 2 users are allowed to attend Smart by GP and work, okay, sorry. If 2 users are allowed to log in into Smart and work on the same artifact simultaneously, will both submission be accepted? Okay, so in artifacts, there's a role, right? So there's a role being assigned to each of the users. So there can only be one primary contact that can submit the proposal, and you can have multiple person that have access to the access to the artifacts. So you can submit, update the artifact responses simultaneously, but for a submission, there's only one person that is allowed to do the submission to Petronas. Okay. Question number 5, will my account be temporarily disabled after not logging into Smart for some time? Not that I'm aware of right now. As long as your okay, your account will not be disabled, but after some time, the system may require you to reset your to create a a new password, right? Next question, is there any need or compulsory to change the password every few months like in SUS? Okay, so um, yeah, like I mentioned before, uh, once in a while, the system will request you to update your password, right? Can you set display? Okay, this is not. Can you set default display row to 10 instead of just 5? Just fine. Uh, okay, I believe you are referring to this one. So if let's say you have more, a lot contact details that you have in the system, by default, it's only 5. You can make changes here, but we cannot make it by default as 10, right? Okay, question number 9. When creating a new user, send invitation button cannot be clicked. Reason why? That the the change request has to be approved first. After the change request approved, then you can send out the invitation. Okay. Question number 10, how to change the currency in business information? It's still in USD, right? So uh, to make those changes, you have to create a change request. If let's say your profile is already in approved, and go to the business information section. Sorry, yeah, business information. So marketing information section, and make the changes here, right? So there's a button for show lookup. You click on it, you delete, add in any supported currencies. How to check the status of the change request if we have made a lot of changes? Okay, so you can only check the change request through through the version history, right? So on the top right here, there's a change history. So you click on it, it will display the version history. So for example, just now have I only changed one, which is these are the two information that I changed. So contact information, I added one contact, and this is version 1. So currently it is approval pending. Okay. So if let's say you have multiple version and you have made a lot of changes, uh, there's a drop down here, you click on it, there should be a drop down of all of the multiple version that you have. So in your profile, it will always display the latest approved version. But when you click on the view change history on the top left, on the top right corner, you able to view all of the changes that you have made before. Okay, only after you have submitted only after you submitted the change request. Since the personal already left the company and we can delete his ID, what happened to all previous transaction of information communication between him and Petronas? Is it can be traceable? All right, so all of the documents that they receive, even though that you have removed a person, you add a new person, that documents will still be tagged to your company. So don't worry, the document or even PO or even invoice submission will not be lost even after you deleted a users. Okay. All right. So next question, how do we get the invitation to create a smart account? Like I mentioned before, the invitation to create a smart account is really depends on uh, two things. So number one, if let's say you are our active suppliers, you have a contract with us, you have a license with us, you will receive an invitation to create a smart account, right? If you don't, then you will need to wait for our buyer to create, to invite you to create your account, right? Simple as that. Okay, question number 14. We have Petronas license. To update the profile, do we need to key in the data again or it's automatic from data in the company license? Okay, so if let's say you are our active supplier, our active license supplier, right? So um, any changes that you made in PLMS. So let's say you add a new swag code, you do changes on your shareholder. So all of that information will be synced in Smart. It will be automatically updated in Smart. You don't have to do any changes in Smart lah, technically. Okay. I had tried to reset my password, but I didn't receive the reset email. Okay, only one bank details is allowed for each remit to location. Okay, so it's two separate questions. I tried to reset my password, but I didn't receive the reset email. So, okay, for this one, please log a ticket to our support team. They can try to trigger back the reset email, or even you can check um, your 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 inbox. What do you call it? Your junk email, for example, you can check on it. Okay, so next question only yeah, so in your junk email, if let's say the email is there, you will need to make sure that you whitelist GEP email. So because any email triggered from the system will be coming from GEP email. So that email is smart@gep.com. Okay. Okay, next question. Only one bank details is allowed for each remit to location, but our company has many bank account that details must be included in the system, right? So for this one, one remit to location, you can only have one bank details. So if let's say you have multiple bank details, you just need to create as a multiple remit to location. If let's say you have three bank details, you should have three remit to location in your profile. Okay. Next question, how many change requests is allowed at one time? So change request, you can only create one change request per submission, right? So if let's say your change request is in approval, then you will not be able to create another change request. You have to wait for your change request to be approved before you can make another change request. So in this example, previously I cannot make any change request, but I have approved the change request that we have submitted just now. Yeah. So the change request has been approved. So let me just open the change history. Yeah. So it is approved now. It is approved now, and after the previous change request has been approved, then you can create another change request, right? So only one change request at one time. Okay, next question. If the existing bank account was change authorized signed director, shall we need to do the update supporting documents? You don't have to do any, you don't have to update if let's say there's a changes to the authorized signatory directors, because in Smart, the information that we need to validate is your bank statement header, right? So as long as it's just screenshot of your bank statement header, as long as it is stated the bank account name, the bank name, and your bank account name, bank address, and your company name, that should be sufficient, right? When submit change request, error message received for business partner log in staging, processing not possible. What does this mean? Okay, so this means that in our backend process, in our backend system SAP, there's a change request that is currently pending. Okay, so you can either wait, you can try again, or what you can do, you can send a ticket to our support team. They should be able to check what are those pending information and resolve that, and you should be able to submit a new change request after that. Okay. All right. So continue. There's three. Yeah, I'll answer three more questions. If we set the currency setting in Malaysia ringgit, are we able to submit quotation in USD currency later? Because there are some items that we submit using USD currency. Yes, you should be able to submit using USD currencies. Okay. We already registered with Smart GEP. We have branches in Bintulu, Miri, and Kemaman. How do we create user ID for our branches, right? So I assume that your profile is in the proof right now. What you need to do, create change request, go to contact information, and create a new contact. Okay. Next question. Normally, how many days for the approval if let's say have some amendment in the system, right? So after we roll out, initially we receive a lot of changes, so that's why it took longer than we expected. But right now, generally it should be being processed within 3 days. Okay.